What's up guys, it's G2. This is going to be a Town Hall 9 base designing video. I don't have a good idea or a good understanding of a lot of the technology stuff. So you see I have markers in the background and this is like my first video with audio. So bear with me, it's probably not going to be professional or very good, but hopefully this helps someone with Town Hall base design. I don't really have a script written per se, I kind of just have like main ideas like what not to do and how to defend against a certain attack strategy and then putting it together. So I'll just start with the first thing. Probably when you look at this base, you're going to wonder why I have the traps removed. That'll be for later. I just want to show you what it looks like from an attacker's perspective, which we'll go into how to like guess traps a little bit and how to make it hard for your opponent to guess the traps. But first, I'm going to start with what not to do in your Town Hall 9 base. Remember that all these tips are for preventing the 3-star. Getting 2 stars is really simple. You can use Giant's Wizards if you really want to and 4 spells, and you can easily make it to Town Hall. I mean, you gotta go through half the base. It's really simple to 2-star. So all of this is for defending against 3-star. Alright, so first, what not to do. I just basically have a list of things I wrote down. So first thing not to do is mortars in the core. Alright, so mortars, they don't really do much damage, and their only real purpose is to kill like witches and maybe injure some skeletons and really weak troops. In war, they're pretty useless in the core because they just don't do much damage, and when they start breaking into your core with P.E.K.K.A.s or heroes or other troops, they just don't do anything. So instead of putting mortars in the core, I always say put them on the outside. Second, don't make a box base. I'm pretty sure everyone knows that who's watching this video, but just gotta say it anyway. Don't make a base that's just a box or a box within a box. They both are terrible. Troops will just walk through it. A couple wall breakers will open everything up. Don't do that. Air defense. If you look at this base, you see the air defense are spread out a bit, and in general that's the best. You want your air defense not to all be in the core, otherwise loons can destroy your towers like 1 or 2 at a time easily. But you also want to make sure they're not so far out that it's really easy to get to them with a pack of like 5 hogs. So put them somewhat in your core, but spread them out a bit. Also, make sure your heroes are not outside of the base. Your heroes are really important, especially the Archer Queen for defending against like Hog Riders and other defense targeting troops. Putting them outside the base really makes it easy for the other person, so keep your heroes inside. Let's see. Oh, don't do Tesla traps. Alright, so oftentimes there are bases where you have a Tesla guarding against a clan castle lure when it's just in the middle of nowhere, or maybe a Tesla in the corner. And, it's true. For first attack, you probably will screw your opponent. And that seems all nice and good, but on the second attack, when they see there's a Tesla there, they just drop 1 balloon on it and the Tesla's gone. And that's a huge waste of a Tesla, which does, some of the highest damage. Actually, highest DPS of all your towers. So don't put it in the corner and just let it die on the second attack to a single balloon. What else not to do? Oh, don't make Southern Teasers. They just don't work. A good go wee or go wipe with back end loons or hogs would just wreck your base. So in general, stay away from Southern Teasers. Next, don't make your base symmetrical. This is a bit more debatable, but in my opinion and in my experience, bases that are randomly made or seemingly random in their design are much harder to destroy because you just can't predict the traps in the pathing and you just can't see it as easily. For example, in my base right now, if there were just if you attacked it and you saw there were 2 Teslas on one side and it was symmetrical, then you could predict that on the other side the Teslas are in the exact same place. Same thing as if you figured out your hogs could path really well on one side, you could assume they path the same on the other side if the base is symmetrical. So in general, I don't really recommend symmetrical bases. Alright, so that's all of the things not to do. I went over it pretty briefly, but let's go into more specifics. So, let me see what I have on my list here. No, I'm sorry. So first, defending against Go Wipe and Go Wee Wee. This is probably the easiest to defend against. Essentially, if you have high level walls, like you can see I have, I think like 120 lava walls or something, if you have pretty high level walls, whoops, my thing turned off. Crap. All right. If you have high level walls and you have a somewhat reasonable number of compartments, you're not going to get 3-starred by Go Wipe or Go Wee Wee unless your base is complete trash in terms of like defense levels, or you. Actually, I can't really think of another way. If you have a decent number of compartments and you have reasonably high level walls, Go Wee Wee and Go Wipe will pretty much never 3-star you. So defending against those is pretty simple. Let's see. Next, Hog Riders. Okay, so defend against Hog Riders, and when I say Hog Riders, I mean mass Hog Riders, where it's essentially 30 plus Hog Riders, and that's the majority of their attack. You obviously have to have a double giant bomb spot, and preferably 2. One big thing is you want your double giant bomb spot to be somewhere inside your base, not on the outside where it can be easily pre-triggered with a single Hog Rider, or the tower that's guarding the double giant bomb spot can be destroyed by a couple loons. So in this base, for example, we see that there's a spot here, there's a spot here, there's a bunch of spots in the core, but it looks like it doesn't really make much sense because there aren't towers nearby. There's a spot here, spot here, spot here, and I think that's it. So what's important about these double giant bomb spots is you have a lot of them. First of all, a lot of potential spots, so it's harder to predict exactly where. And most of them are not really easily pre-triggered. So we see the one up here, different color. This one you can usually assume is not a double giant bomb spot if you're attacking a base and that's like the first attack, simply because it's just too exposed. You send a single Hog Rider from up here, and Hog Rider will come down and it'll trigger a giant bomb. So we can already assume that this is not going to be a double giant bomb spot. The others, they seem to be more realistically the correct giant bomb spots. So if I was attacking this base, for example, I would probably predict giant bombs would be here. I would make it white. And I'd probably predict here. So obviously whoever made the base, and this is my base, you can just change around the double giant bomb spots. So it's just a prediction. Probably for this base, you'd need 2 attacks to 3-star with hogs. It's definitely possible, but it should be pretty hard to pull off. I haven't really tested this base too much. Anyways, so defending against Hog Riders, few steps that go into every hog attack, and knowing those steps means that you can defend it better. So I'm getting rid of the giant bomb spot drawings. Alright, that line didn't go away, don't know why. Whatever. First, you want a clan castle that's very hard to lure. I don't have the clan castle radius right now, but essentially it goes, I think it looks somewhat like this. I'm drawing with my finger, by the way, so it's a really crappy circle. Yeah, it's a pretty bad circle. Anyways, it's not easy to lure at all. I try to make it very hard to lure, and any Hog Rider attack has to essentially lure the clan castle, otherwise the hogs will get blown up by wizards and whatnot. So first step to try and defend against Hog Riders, and this will go for a lot of attacks in general, make your clan castle really hard to lure. In this case, it looks like the easiest way to lure, also this line is like messed up down here, it doesn't go quite that far, but the easiest way to lure, it looks like pry from the cannon the mortar at the top here, send in like, I think 6 Hog Riders probably, and they maybe send them closer to this side so they go towards the air defense. But 6 Hog Riders is a pretty big investment for a lure, and you're only getting a cannon and probably an air defense for it. So if you're doing a mass hog attack, you're not really getting a good towers out of it either. So first thing, make an honorable clan castle to defend against Hog Riders. Second, we already went over the double giant bomb spots. I'm just gonna erase that because I don't know what's there anymore. I didn't need it. All right. Second, you want your Archer Queen to be pretty centralized. She's another thing that will just ruin a hog raid if the attacker doesn't get rid of the Archer Queen. So in my case, my Archer Queen is pretty centralized. Obviously, Archer Queen could be where like the clan castle is, but I think the clan castle being impossible lure is a little better. I like to offset my Archer Queen a little bit like this, so that the radius is closer to something like, that's a really bad circle, probably not even quite accurate, but by putting the Archer Queen a little offset, I can be pretty certain that if when they're trying to kill the Archer Queen, they would come in from this side or from this side. And that helps me with my trap placement a bit better. So I would say offset your Archer Queen a little bit so that you know where they're coming from. Knowing where they're coming from is pretty important because that means that they're probably going to use a kill squad, and by kill squad I mean witches and such, to lure and kill the clan castle from over here-ish, maybe over here or over here. And so for that reason, I put mortars near these, near the edges or near these areas so that the witches have a harder time to kill the clan castle because the mortar's obviously blowing them up. So first step, make your clan castle unlootable. Second step, centralize your Archer Queen. Get it in the core somewhere, maybe offset it a little bit. Third step, make it hard to kill your clan castle. So for example, if I put a builder hut in the corner, it would be really easy to kill the clan castle because you just send in a couple barbarians on the builder hut after you lure the clan castle. Clan castle starts walking over, you drop your witches deal with it. There's no tower shooting, it's a really easy clan castle kill. By putting the mortar here and by not having the builder hut in the corner, suddenly when you're deploying your witches, you might get unlucky with all your skeletons dying at once to mortar, and then a wizard from my clan castle blows up your witches, and at that point you might be screwed. So, I'm gonna erase some things. Offset your clan castle a little bit. Apparently you can only undo so much, so those circles are gonna stay there forever. Great. Don't know how to erase them either because I'm an idiot. Oh well. Also, don't put your double giant bomb spot near your Archer Queen, or at least near the area where they will kill your Archer Queen. So, for that reason, the double giant bomb spot that's still highlighted, this one, is probably not a good place, or not the best place to put the giant bombs for real, because if the opponent knows that, or opponent suspects they're there, they'll send their heroes and such from this side, probably place like a jump spell over here, and they'll get rid of the double giant bomb spot in addition to killing your Archer Queen. So try to place your double giant bombs not on the same side as your Archer Queen. Alright, I'm going to erase some of that. Alright, cool. Otherwise, what else is there for Hog Riders? We already talked about the double giant bomb spots. I guess we could go into spring traps and skeleton traps. Just place your spring traps between defensive buildings. Don't place them like in the middle of nowhere or just like here, for example. Don't place it there. Hogs won't run over it. Place it like here, or place it between these two defenses, or these two, that kind of thing. Spring traps can really screw with Hog Riders too. Let's see. Is there anything else? Alright, no, not really. Alright, note these defensive tips are for Hog Riders, but they also apply to Goho, which is a very similar concept to Mass Hogs. The difference I make is that Goho has either 2 golems or they just bring more wizards, because the point of the golem and heroes isn't so much just to kill the Archer Queen, but it's also to take out a reasonable portion of the base. The defensive idea is similar. Good double giant bomb placement, centralized queen, centralized clan castle, that kind of stuff. Don't really think there's too much I need to say about defending against Goho versus defending against pure Hog Riders, other than make sure your double giant bomb spot isn't super easy to trigger with a golem and a jump spell. At least not both of them easy to trigger with the golem and jump spell. For example, if I placed my double giant bombs here and here, this would probably be a pretty bad base for Goho, or to defend against Goho, because they would deploy a golem probably here and put a jump spell here, and probably they would walk over both double giant bomb spots while killing the Archer Queen. And so place your double giant bomb spots away from Archer Queen and also somewhat away from each other so that Goho doesn't get both of them. Because if both of your double giant bomb spots are removed, your base is screwed. Hog Riders will run through it any day. Let's see, is there anything else about Hog Riders or Goho? No, I think that's about it. Alright, so next attack to defend against, Lava Lunion. Alright, so I'm not as good with Lava Lunion as I am with Hog Riders. Sorry, one second. So my defensive strategies might not be as good. But the general idea is you want your air defense to be relatively protected so they can't just send in 5 hog riders on a corner and just kill your air defense immediately. You want your air defense to be relatively spread so that they defend a lot of towers from just loons walking in and destroying them. You also don't want 2 air defense right next to your Archer Queen, or actually right next to each other in general, because if they can destroy both air defense with the kill squad, then your other 2 air defense are not going to be able to defend against the Lava Hounds. There's just too much tanking potential with those 2 Lava Hounds. For example, in this base, if they could get their heroes and kill squad in general into this compartment here, I would be in big trouble because the Archer Queen would be able to shoot this air defense and probably would walk over and shoot this air defense as well. If they can take out my Archer Queen and both air defense, I'm doomed. There's no way I can defend Lavalunian if that happens. So what I did was I put storages right here, and in general just had a bit more walls and made it a little harder to get into this compartment. You could use a jump spell, I suppose, but then you are ignoring all the towers on the sides, which will keep shooting in. So I think in general, it shouldn't be too easy to hit that area with Lavalunian by first sending your kill squad into this compartment. Oops. Whoops. Gotta reload the picture. Alright. Oh, hey, cleared the stuff too. Probably could have done that a long time ago, but then again, I'm an idiot. Alright, so, other elements to defend against Lavalunian. Let's see. Oh, Seeking Air Mines. Put them on air defense that won't be destroyed with your Archer Queen. So, for example, I wouldn't put my Seeking Air Mines on this air defense, because if they use, they're trying to use Lavalunian, they would send in the Golem and heroes from here or here, and they try to get to this compartment while also killing my Archer Queen. And so the air defense would go down, and the Seeking Air Mines would be probably wasted there. So instead, erasing these arrows, I would put the Seeking Air Mines over on this air defense or this air defense. Or both of them, probably, actually. Because this one is also within easy grabs with the Archer Queen. So I can erase those out. Let's see, what else is there? I think that's about it. Try to make it so the loons can't path super easily to your defense. It's a little harder to pull off, and I'm still trying to tinker with base designs to make it so the air defense are really hard to path to the loons. But this air defense, for example, I think I did it relatively well. Probably not for these. These, I didn't really work on it that hard. Probably should have. Just tweak my base a bit in the future. This air defense over here is a little harder to path to correctly, because I think loons have a chance of going like this. Maybe I should move the mortar over one so that the loons will path to the mortar first. Move the mortar like that a little bit. But I don't know. That's a really hard thing to incorporate well into your base design, is air defense that aren't targeted first by or aren't targeted quickly by your loons. Let's see. What else is there to defend against Lavalunian? Expo's pointed up. Pretty much always. Lavalunian is one of the strongest attacks right now, so you need all the help you can get with Expo's pointing up. Alright, so those are all the main attack strategies used right now. I mean, there's Valkyries, but it's the same idea with Go Wipe, essentially. The P.E.K.K.A.s and Valkyries are relatively the same. And yeah, there's no other attacks really, so defending against only one of them is really easy. Like, to defend against Hog Riders, I could easily make a spread base and just put 2 double giant bombs between some random towers, and it'd be pretty much impossible to guess or pre-trigger them. But the trouble comes in when you're trying to defend against all the attacks at once. And I think this is where a lot of our base designers in Taste of Terror struggle with base design. They're trying to defend against only a couple strategies, and they just forget about, say, Hog Riders. They're trying to defend against Go Wipe and such, so they pack all of their towers into little compartments, and then they forget that Hog Riders exist, and Hog Riders just run them over in the war. So, let's see. How do I want to go about this? Just talking about how I personally make bases. I'm sure there's a lot better ways, but what I do is essentially I put a clan castle somewhere in the middle or close to it. That's a town hall. Put the clan castle somewhere in the middle, or very close to it. Put an archer queen pretty close to it, and just make some kind of core with a double giant bomb possibility. Then I basically kind of just throw towers all over the place and leave a bunch of gaps for a double giant bomb spot, and put walls around them. I know that sounds completely retarded in terms of the way I make bases, but it's kind of what I do actually. If you know the basic designs or the basic plan, which is lots of double giant bomb spots, air defense, they're spread out, that kind of thing. Basically, you can do anything for your base and just tweak it a bit over time. Like this one, it hasn't actually been hit yet because this is the first time I'm going to use this bases in my next war. So there could easily be a huge flaw that I missed. Like, all the hogs don't actually path over the double giant bomb spots because I'm an idiot. But if you have elements that defend against the attacks, like these double giant bomb spots and spread air defense and centralized archer queen, centralized clan castle, already you've gotten a very good base. Just add some compartments, add some walls that are that box in a decent number of towers, but don't go crazy. Don't try to box in all your towers, otherwise you run out of walls. Then I think you're pretty much set already. Some things that I think a lot of people forget is how to use storages. For example, storages, don't just like throw them all outside of a tower, or not all outside your base like this, where you just like place them all around there and hope that your opponents get stalled on them, because it's kind of wasting their health. What I do with my storages is I place them somewhat in the middle of my base, not quite in the middle, but on the outer edges between like towers. And it means that when you're coming into my archer queen, for example, with your heroes, you get hung up on these storages. So while your golem moves forward and maybe you bring in some hogs or whatever to help take out edge towers, your wizards are stuck behind. So it can make it a lot harder for your heroes to get to my archer queen and maybe get the air defense in the Lava-Lunian attack, for example. These storages here, they're serving the purpose of making defensive troops go around so they don't go to the core immediately. So that's what the purpose of those storages are. And these are I kind of just threw in because I want to make it harder for an archer queen to walk in and shoot that air defense and shoot the next air defense. Some other things that I did in this base and you can do in your base. Oh, traps in general. Alright, so Teslas, you should place them in areas that probably are not expected. Like, just surprise your opponent where you place them. And I don't mean don't place them just in a corner and hope that your opponent screws up and your second opponent doesn't read the first attack or watch the first attack and take advantage of it. Put them in places that still like defend it so they can't just take out the Tesla easily, but probably your opponent didn't expect. For example, my opponent looking at this base would probably expect that there's a Tesla in the core somewhere, or at least a few, because a lot of people like to put Teslas in the core. We'll go into the actual trap placement of this base a little later, but I could easily put Teslas like right here or right here, maybe like right here, just places that aren't really easy tests. And it's a lot harder to attack a base when you don't know where the Teslas are, because your defense targeting troops like Golem and Hog Riders can go the wrong way or just go not where you're expecting. The little bombs, people often think they're completely like worthless, but they have an interesting use if you max the little bombs. Little bomb, I think it does 42 damage, which happens to be the exact HP of a level 5 wall breaker. The highest wall breaker that Town Hall 9 can unlock. So if you find yourself getting attacked from the same side over and over again, perhaps you should consider putting a little bomb on the wall so that wall breakers get blown up. For example, in this base, if I see that most of my attackers keep coming in on this corner, perhaps I should put a little bomb right here so that wall breakers that are sent on the corner get blown up immediately. Those little things. Otherwise, little bombs do reasonable damage, not a lot in groups. So for example, if I put my double giant bomb spot here, I could put my little bombs over here and force my opponent for sure to burn a heal spell on that area, because the little bombs do enough damage that the Hog Riders would get crippled if they were using Hog Riders. Skeleton traps, I would recommend putting them in places to make it harder to kill the Archer Queen. So like I put it here and put maybe one there or both of them in one of those spots. That way when you're trying to get the Archer Queen, the skeletons pop up and they just make it take a little longer to get the Archer Queen, which could make the difference between getting her or not. Let's see. Spring traps, I already said, put them between towers. Regular air mines, don't put them like next to your air defense, I don't think, because lava hounds will come to your air defense and the air bomb will do pretty much no damage. So put them somewhere that your lava hounds, or that the opponent's lava hounds won't go. So in this case, maybe like here, maybe here. I'm making this up by the way, I don't remember exactly where I put them. But in general, just places where lava hounds won't be, because they're a lot more effective on a pack of balloons. Let's see, is there anything else? Splash, like, it's not super important to distribute your splash, actually. I just like my mortars on each edge to, or each corner to make it harder to lure the clan castle. But it's absolutely not a necessity to have them well spread out. Wizard towers are the same thing. It doesn't really matter too much where to put them. I just don't like them, I usually don't like them packed together, because then one heal spell on a group of Hog Riders might just walk through all your wizard towers at once. Also, try not to put your wizard towers, or as much as you can, put them far away from your air defense, because a wizard tower that's targeting a lava hound does nothing, but a wizard tower that's targeting a group of balloons will just completely destroy them. I think that's about it. I guess because we're looking at the space, I was going to ask people to predict where the double giant bomb spots are actually and where the Teslas are actually. So you can pause the video, I guess, for 30 seconds. Otherwise, I'm just going to go through where I put my bombs and why I put them there. So it turns out, if you could see the base, the double giant bomb spot is here. I have 2 Teslas here. I have a Tesla here, and a Tesla here. And the other giant bomb, I should probably make a different color. This would be giant bomb. I actually have a single here and a single here. So usually I like 2 double giant bomb spots. In this case, I'm doing singles, and the reason why is I'm trying to make it so it's hard to use your heal spells well if you're using Hog Riders, because that's really the only purpose of giant bombs, is to kill Hog Riders or maybe a group of wizards in a go wipe or go weave attack. So I could easily make it a double giant bomb spot here instead of only a single. I decided that maybe singles are a bit better in this case for this base in particular, because I was thinking about how you would attack it, right, with Hog Riders. If you were going to use Hog Riders in this base, I assumed someone would kill the clan or lure the clan castle either from the top here or the probably the bottom here, just because there's less defenses. It's more in the ring of the clan castle. And I was thinking, if I was going to attack this base, I would probably kill clan castle in the corner. Let's just say this corner. I know I said it was harder because of mortar. I'd probably still pick that corner. Then I would send in my heroes and golem and jump spell for the Archer Queen from here, and then I'd send in the hogs from somewhere. Probably you would use a jump spell in order to get to my queen. So I was thinking you only have 3 heal spells, and you also have to get rid of the double giant bomb in the core somehow. So I was thinking maybe they would send in a bunch of hogs from here and a bunch of hogs here, and then send in like 1 hog to go right down the center to trigger the giant bomb spot, or at least trigger one of them, and then they'd have to drop. I was thinking they'd have to drop a heal spell for this giant bomb, a heal spell for this one that's still here, and then a heal spell for this giant bomb over here. Well, I placed all my little bombs over here, and they're still splash hitting your hogs over there, so I thought I could at least maybe strain their spells a bit by placing my giant bombs in separate areas. This is something I'm experimenting with. I might be completely wrong. It might be better just do two double giant bomb spots, but something to think about. And in this base, I think it would throw most attackers for a loop because of that. The spring traps, I mean, they're not really worth predicting. You just kind of assume they're going to be between two towers in a bunch of places. I think for mine, I have it like here and one here, one here, and one here. Maybe I don't remember. Those aren't as important. But again, I would recommend you don't put them in the places where the Archer Queen is most likely to be killed. So I wouldn't really recommend spring traps in this area for this base, because I'm assuming a golem and heroes are going to come in through that area anyway, and so hog riders clearly won't walk over them because the towers will be dead. That's about it. That's all I can really think of. I hope this video helped at least someone with their base design a little bit. I guess if I remember anything, I could add like a part two. No, maybe not part two. I don't know. I don't know if I would do anything else, but hopefully this video helps someone. Just place the double giant bombs better. Understand where I come from with a lot of the things I say, with like Teslas being in random spots and not Tesla traps and mortars on the outside. Hopefully it all makes sense too. This is my first video again. It's not like a real script. I just kind of wrote down like main ideas, so I might have missed things. If you have any questions, you can easily leave a comments and ask. Otherwise, see you guys later.